and welcome everyone to the August 4th edition of Quarantine Chats. It's hard to believe that it is already August, and we're doing these chats in August. We started back in March, believe it or not, doing Quarantine Chats. So so glad to have the opportunity to keep doing this and to have participation from our friends and partners on this, and from everyone who's said such nice things about what we're doing here at QT Chats. If you want to join live, make sure next time, if you're looking at this on the recording, go to our homepage and look for the link just under the banner section, and you can get in and answer your questions. So, oh, whoops, this is the agenda slide from last time. Basically, look, we're going to be running through the CEWS updates today, and it's a Q&A. So please make sure and change your chat setting to all panelists and attendees. You should be able to find the Q&A section as well. So if you ask a question there, then we'll, or put up your hand, you can come on mic and we'll get you being able to say your question and interact directly. But otherwise, please do type a question into the chat and we'll answer as we go. I have my own little COVID story to share with everyone here, and that's that our childcare for our two little kids, our nanny was exposed to COVID, so she's not working today. So I think she's going to be fine. It was incidental contact only, and but she's just playing it really safe, which we appreciate. But it means that I'm sort of half working today, and so I may not be as focused or on point as I normally am on these. So bear with me, please. Okay, and who we've got on the call is myself. I am, of course, the founder, or should I say instigator, of Entreflow and of QT Chats as well. So I've got lots of experience in many different forms of business, but mostly I really like making an impact in startups and high growth organizations where there's a lot of things to define and a lot of things to figure out and implement. So I've been part of that kind of journey throughout my whole career. That's a little bit about me. Joining me on the call today is Dustin from Payment Evolution, who's been on a few of these, so the regulars might know him. But Dustin, do you want to say hello and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me. It's great being in these webinars that Ian, you, and Colin kind of provide here, these quarantine chats. You know, it's funny. I look at that picture. I'm like, that's pre-COVID picture right there. That's the quintessential, quintessential looking sharp, got ready for the camera. And here Dustin's like, we had someone say the COVID beard, came out. So, yes, my name is Dustin. I'm actually got a promotion in the last couple of months. So I'm now the head of sales for the national team here at Payment Evolution, senior manager. I was the accountant channel manager beforehand, before that. And, I'm glad to kind of share some information on some of these CEWS updates that are happening, right? So it's really, really exciting to share. And I will give you a caveat. I will tell you what I know. We will leverage our team here at Entreflow, of course, because they're the experts as well. But I'm a glorified sales guy. I know how to do sales, and I know how to talk about what I'm talking about honestly. So I'll do my best today.
That's all we can ask for, Dustin. Thank you. Okay, great. And that's a great segue to introduce Entreflow. We are a accounting firm, a CPA firm, of course, and we do services in a different sort of way. We're really very focused on operational accounting month to month, and on that CFO level services. That's where we started our business. Of course, we can do all kinds of year-end stuff as well. We have HR people on our team exclusively doing payroll and things like that, and recruiting and hiring and helping to set up the HR structures. And we've got a bit of marketing strategy expertise on our team too. So boutique firm really focused on high growth companies, particularly in Canada, a little bit into the States as well. And we just really love helping people get from initial traction to high growth. So that's a little bit about us. If you need our kind of services, please let me know. We're also joined today by Colin from Startup Vancouver, and really proud to have Startup Vancouver as our sponsor or co-presenter, I suppose, on these events. Colin, do you want to say hi and talk a little bit about what Startup Vancouver does?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ian. Good to see you all here again for QT Chats. As Ian mentioned, I am the co-founder and community leader of Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And if you don't know, Startup Canada is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs in the country. And with entrepreneurship, we connect entrepreneurs to each other, to events, to resources, both here locally, regionally, provincially, and nationally. And we also host a couple of shows too. One of them we have twice a week is our half-hour live stream called What Keeps You Up at Night? Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times. And just wanted to say, Ian, that after this week, this will be our 24th episode over 12 weeks, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Because that's part of what we all need as entrepreneurs. Sometimes you just need to recharge and refuel. So after this week, we're going to be taking a break until after Labor Day, and also with QT Chats that I'm just going to be stepping aside a little bit to kind of recharge my batteries. So I'm looking forward to hitting the ground running again with QT Chats on, I guess, September 8th on that Tuesday. So thanks again for letting us be part of this. And yeah, looking forward to today's show.
Sounds good. Well, we're looking forward to having you back in September as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about CEWS. So I'll actually pass this over to Dustin because these are some slides that our friends at Payment Evolution put together. So do you want to just tell me next slide when you're ready and you can talk through this? Okay, perfect.
No problem. I'll do the presentation guns. I'll be like, and then that way I'll give you the cue.
All right.
So thanks everybody. Yeah, there's a little bit of an update of what's happening right now with CEWS, of course. And so one of the big things that I think people really have asked us is they said, hey, so how is what's the big difference here? Because, you know, not too long ago, good old Justin Trudeau and the CRA now are saying like, hey, in the past we could do the subsidy for up to 75% of up to a max amount per week that we were able to subsidize, you know, with the Canadian emergency, you know, wage subsidy. But one of the things that's happened, I may be oversimplifying things here, but one of the things that's happened is that it's now going to change to a variable percentage based on how much revenue actually has been lost, if I'm not mistaken, with each business. So most businesses usually say, okay, well, how do I find out that information? How do I know more? How do I educate myself? So there's a ton of slides there's a lot of information that's out there on the internet that you can definitely find out. You can go to the CRA, you know, website themselves and kind of find that information. But one of the key things that we are really telling people is leverage your accounting professional, whether it be a bookkeeper or accounting professional or a CPA or your accounting professional in general that you have trust in, to let you know a little bit more about that variable. Because something you need to be aware of here at Payment Evolution, we do payroll, and yes, we can actually help you out with kind of letting you know to a degree what should be and how things are calculated. But the truth is that we're missing some basic information here at Payment Evolution that your accounting professional is going to be able to help you out with, which is, for example, we don't know the amount of revenue that has actually been lost because our current system is a payrolls tool, and we'll know certain specifics about, you know, the wages and things of that nature of your employees and the people that you're paying out. But you'll need to find out some of that information to really get the proper variable. So, you know, one of the things that we have here at Payment Evolution that is going to be really helpful is actually we have a report that we had created for the CEWS. How do you call it, for the to make sure that you know what to claim for CEWS in general, or what the percentage amount would have been based on our calculations. And so one of the things that's really important is that report now, where it used to be 75% or up to 75% to a certain amount, is now going to be changed up to you can enter it in manually what the percentage would be. We don't know what that percentage is, unfortunately, but we're asking the accounting professionals here and teams like Entreflow to be able to kind of provide that help to their clients and let them know what that percentage is, so that reporting can be accurate. Things are changing like crazy. And so, there's a couple of things that we want to make sure that that you can do. And this all comes from a person from a third party point of view, as an entrepreneur and also as an employee, not necessarily just an accounting professional, as we can always get, Ian's and the Entreflow team's advice on that. Ian, next slide, if you don't mind.
You didn't give me the guns.
Oh,
I missed it. Okay, there you
go. Perfect. When it comes to the research here, one of the things that we talked about, that we talk about to a lot of our current clients is actually do the research, do your research. This is your business. Ideally, you're doing the best that you can, of course. What we want to provide here is, a couple of simple steps to when you're actually doing that research. Find out that information. If you need to contact the CRA, it's something that we encourage a lot of the accounting professionals to do, because it's kind of part of the role that they help. We don't really tell the business owner to call them, but if you're one of those people that you love to have control and of your power of influence, then it would be smart for you to, if you ever do call, write things down. It's important. We are so great at our trade as small business owners that, we forget sometimes that we pay the guys to do the heavy lifting, like the accounting professionals, to be able to help us out. But if you are going to call them, write that information down, make sure that you have that agent's contact info if you can, note down the advice that they give. It's even possible for you to ask for their agent number if it's necessary, so that, we can reference it back if you're leveraging your accounting professionals afterwards to help you out with this, and then on top of that, talk, instead of just talking to the CRA, talk to your accounting professional. That you pay them ideally good money so that they can actually help you out with a ton of this stuff. It's not something that we should just leverage ourselves and just be focusing ourselves to how do you say, to have in our mind and kind of be stressed out about. It's something that, we obviously employ our colleagues, like those accounting professionals, to help you out. And if I can, this is the next slide.
I'll just jump in and add one more thing. It's about when you're talking to the CRA. So the CRA, great people to go to ask questions. And I'll just echo the point about writing down the agent that you talk to, their contact information, and the advice that they gave you, because you're going to take actions based on that information. And it's important that if somebody from the CRA questions those actions that you took, that you have a reference point to say, well, on August 15th, 2020, I spoke to agent number blah, 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 and they told me that in my case, this was the situation, and so I acted accordingly. That's very important to have in your back pocket, if and particularly if there's something that is unclear to you about how this applies in your situation, and maybe it's unclear to your accountant as well, and so you go and get an answer from the CRA. It's a really good thing to do to write that down. Okay, next figure.
Thank you. Like it says there, keep your records. So kind of, we really want to hone in and what's happening here with, if you are calling the CRA, or in general, when you're doing those actions that you are, when you're making some type of changes within your processes, with regards to the CEWS. Again, I'm going to assume here that you're you have an accounting professional, a person that you feel is going to be, your trusted advisor when it comes to this. But if you don't, then I really suggest that you keep tons of your records. Things are changing like crazy. It's been about almost 5 months here since we started these quarantine chats, or since Ian and the team here at Entrepreneur started these quarantine chats, and things have been changing almost on the weekly. Okay, so it's important that we, not only do you write down things about what, when you speak to a CRA agent, but like know what you did and why you did it if you're changing something, right? Things have changed over time. And also, uh, you need records for each period that you claim for. So it's important that you keep those records as much as possible and have a tool that allows you to do that. I'm not here to plug in Payment Evolution. It just happens to be the company that we work for. But, there is a way for you to have a system to keep those records and to make note of those records and to know why that's all been happening. Don't do it just because you're going with the wind. Please be very, very cautious. And obviously, if you don't have, like I said, an actual trusted advisor, we have people right here. You're looking at people right here that could be those people for you to help you out along those lines. So please keep your records. I'm not sure if you want to add anything there, Ian. I think the truth is that, we have to take accountability as a small business owner, and also, with the people that are supporting us, or supporting team. And I think it might be smart for us to do those basic 3 things: keep your records, know what you did, things are changing, so keep in mind that things are happening. And then on top of that, having those records of each period that you claim for is going to be super helpful for you, even moving forward in the past.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and we've seen a lot of businesses that were potentially doing their accounting on, say, a quarterly basis or even annually, have jumped on the okay, yeah, we really need to do this monthly kind of thing, and also a lot heavier adoption of cloud accounting software and fintech in general, for an integrated ecosystem of applications that help you keep all these records and help make things easier. So definitely see this as a pressing need, and a lot of business owners have taken care of it, and also are getting help from people to help keep the records.
Awesome. We'll do the next slide if you don't mind. So one of the things that we also talk about here is, like, remember that when we're talking to the CRA, I think it's very important that there's things that you can control, and there's things that obviously that are out of our control. But one of the things that we can control, aside from keeping our records and being smart about, all that information and having a trusted advisor, I want you to be aware that, although it does seem that way sometimes, the CRA really isn't out to get you. We should be acting in good faith here, when it comes to the good old Canadian Revenue Agency. We believe that, the CRA is not looking to penalize people who are acting in good faith. And when it comes to the audit time, number one, they're people too. They'll know that this was actually hard. They're getting bombarded by questions and work themselves as well. So there's a little bit of empathy that needs to be understood here on both sides of the situation. But if you have your records and your research, then the worst that will happen is that you'll have to pay back, any incorrect amounts. That's really ultimately what what worst case will be. In my conversations with the CRA, or with my team's conversation with the CRA, they said that fines would be discretionary; they wouldn't be mandatory. So be aware. Again, the CRA is also, there are a bunch of people that are working for this for this organization. They're not out to get you. If you're acting in good faith and you have your records properly set, and you also have your trusted advisor that can give you the insights of what you need to do with all this stuff. You're going to be sitting much better than the majority of people that are not doing their due diligence. They know that auditing is pretty hard to do. So again, this is in our conversations with the CRA. Fines can be discretionary, not mandatory. So hopefully that leaves a little bit of what's it called, pressure from or weight on off your shoulders. We know that if people are looking to do the opposite, some people are getting dinged pretty hard already. But, you know, I think the great thing here is that there's an option for both sides to really engage in empathy and in care. And, you know, where you usually don't hear those things in, you know, with government organizations, but I'm glad to say that, you know, in our experience, they're trying to get through this as well and as, you know, as calmly as you want to get through it as well, and in the way that you and your supporting team want to.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to remember that the CRA wants you to use this program, right? They want you to access wage subsidy so that you can keep employees on your payroll, keep them gainfully employed and doing things that help the Canadian economy. They want this to happen. Yeah, they want to make sure that people are not acting in good faith. That people who are not acting in good faith are identified and measures have been put in place to discourage those people from doing that. But for businesses that are acting in good faith, they're not going to try and trip you up. Like, that's not the intention. They want you to be able to use the program and to make sure that it's fair for everybody. So try and use it, right? That's the message. Please try and use the program. But just, you know, write down your decisions, act in good faith, do your best. And I think that's all that anyone can ask. And everyone should be fine, right? Okay. Next one.
Yeah, I think this is echoing kind of the information that we've already been seeing. The way I took, I had a conversation with a great client, and they were saying, oh, you wouldn't believe how crazy this has all been. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, and you know, I think that's an understatement. The fact that this has all been going, you know, yes, people have been taking it in stride, but I remember, you know, talking to this client, and I said, you know, take a breath, you know, like, give yourself a chance for a second. You know, there was a long weekend for many provinces in the last little bit. I said, just take some time and rest. I know that you feel like you have things racing through your mind. This is new. It's scary for everybody. Right. You know, and it's funny because we work because I work at Payment Evolution for a company that does payroll. We're very much, you know, having constant conversations with the CRA, and, you know, these CRA agents, just to give you some perspective, they're also kind of in the same boat, right? These turbulent times are happening. We're dealing with something that is completely crazy and scary for some. You know, people don't know this about me. I'm a germaphobe. I hate, you know, I wash my hands like crazy, and in dealing in these last 5 months has been like, my wife has helped me so much, and she said, hey, we're all in the same boat, too. Relax, you know, chill out, you know, and then, you know, and we try our best. Everyone is really trying their best. So remember this. And the reason why I say this is because it allows us to give the empathy that we need to get the actions and get the actual responses that we want. Like, you know, there's that saying, you know, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. If you're asking a simple question and you're taking your time and you're making sure that you assume and you trust that they're doing the best that they can too, 9 times out of 10, well, and that's a kind of a silly statistic, but more often than not, you're going to see a positive response back to you. So, you know, I think part of the battle here is understanding that everyone's going through it as well. Take a breath. You know, let's make sure that you do everything that you can in your power. And if you've noticed, what are some things in your power here? Keeping records, having a trusted advisor, making sure that you're smart about what's being, you know, changed and what's going to be happening, and do you have tools that can help you out to get you there? Those are the things that are in your power. It is funny. We had a conversation just a moment ago when a person said they called the CRA and they were on hold for who knows how long, and they just said, like, I had a really interesting conversation. As soon as I got to the person, I was really irate, but then they calmed me down and they said, hey, you know, like, we want to help you. I know this sounds weird. Maybe they got a cool agent at the time, you know, but everyone's trying their best.
Cool.
All right. So be patient and be kind. So there we go. So, you know, be patient, be kind. Remember that when you talk to the CRA or to your accountant, who is, you know, who's currently getting a call from probably every client that they've ever known about this new percentage, you know, these changes, they're just people, and they're doing the best job that they can to help you out. Okay, so yeah, they're getting the information at the exact same time that you are when these things are being announced. They're dealing with a lot of those stressed out people all throughout the long days, and they're really trying to help. So a quick "How are you doing today?" or a quick or thoughtful "Thank you." Can really go a long way. Sometimes this is how we're dealing with it here at Payment Evolution, because we can explain to everybody how it all goes through. Like, we can explain we even have a blog post explaining our calculations and things of our calculation methodology. And it's like, I got to send people that way to be able to have that information handy for themselves. But if they have a genuine and authentic feeling of what we're trying to do and trying to help them out, you'd be surprised how many times we hear things like, "I'm so glad you were able to take my call. You guys are all doing a great job." And if you share that with the people that you're dealing with, and kind of share that empathy, it can really go a long way in helping them out. And so, this is all ultimately also at the same time can allow them to keep on going and helping other people as well. We're all in the same boat. We all have to do our due diligence as good citizens, and these programs are there to help us out. So, I think it's important for us to remember that these things can be super stressful, but at the same time, they can be really helpful, and we can be really empathetic and compassionate, so that the economy can jumpstart. We need to remember these things, but hopefully that can shed some light into how we're dealing it with here at Payment Evolution. Maybe some helpful tips on how they can help you. Ian, I'm not sure if you want to add anything. I think that's the last of my slide, but we're doing our best here to be using these words: be patient, be kind, so that we can help everybody out.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, our team has worked tirelessly and diligently, and have had a lot of calls and questions fielded. And we always appreciate when people are patient and appreciative, because we're doing the best we can with the limited hours that we've got to help everyone out.
Yeah, and I think what's really funny is you mentioned about the you have working with the kids being around. I think we forget that not all of us have that same scenario happening, but boy, is it awesome when someone's like, "Oh, your little one," like my little one came into the video call. Did you have to get that? Like, the amount of care that people actually give because of what's going on right now is kind of it's really cool. It makes being Canadian really awesome. And because I have some friends and family that are counterparts in the U.S. and they're not as I'm painting with broad strokes here. They're dealing with their own scenarios down there, but it's just awesome to see how business here in Canada is being conducted. That's here at Payment Evolution. That's all we can really kind of share our experiences on, because we're only Canadian anyways. We're only dealing with Canadian companies anyways.
For sure. Yeah. Colin, did you have something you wanted to jump in with? I noticed you came off, Mike.
Yeah, I just love what Dustin is saying there. Just leading with kindness, with empathy, with patience, and that's hard during these times. On our What Keeps You Up at Night show, I always put a slide up there, the old 70s slide of the kitten holding onto the bar, hang in there, baby. And I put that out there. It's like, how's everybody doing? How are you hanging in there? Are you making sure that you're staying safe and you're staying connected? And that empathy piece is just so big with that. And that doesn't come easily for a lot of people. But as I've learned, empathy is like a muscle. It can get stronger, and you can. That's something that could be learned. You're not just born with that. Obviously, some people have more of that than others to start with from the context that they grew up in. But you can get stronger and learn empathy as a skill and train for that. And I think these times have really given people an opportunity to be more patient and more caring and more kind. So yeah, Dustin, thanks for reiterating that.
My pleasure.
Sure. Okay, well, what I thought I'd do next is talk about the new adjustments in more detail. So the first thing to share was that this was announced July 20th. The relevant date is for July 5th, I think it is. So it's if enacted, it would be retroactive back to July 5th, from my understanding. And we are still waiting on the legislation to be finalized. I haven't seen an announcement about that. If I missed it over the long weekend, then somebody please let me know. But as far as I know, it's still making its way through to become the bill passed into law. So we're waiting on that. So what we're talking about now, unless somebody stops me and corrects me to say that this is has been enacted and I just missed that. What we're talking about now is an adjustment that has been proposed, and we, based on our experience of these things over the course of this year, we can expect that this will likely be the new form of CEWS going forward. We haven't seen these announcements come through to this stage where they're publicly announcing something and then have a huge retraction. More often it will be enacted and then they might make some further adjustments to it after the fact. So that's what we're expecting to see. As Dustin alluded to, it means that whereas before, in order to be eligible for CEWS, you had to show that your business experienced a revenue drop of 30% or more. And that's as compared to the prior month, same month prior year, or the average of January and February of 2020. So the new adjustment suggests that businesses that whose revenue is closer to 100% of what it was in the past period are still eligible to get some kind of subsidy, and it's just on a diminishing program. So we'll go through the details of this announcement, and the link is here, and I'll paste that into the chat. But what I'm doing here is just really showing the some screenshots from the announcement so that everyone can look through and see what the subsidy might be. So I'm just going to talk through it, and I have to caveat that I'm not giving advice. I can't give advice. You're not our clients, but if you are our clients, then come call us and we'll talk about your specific case. So this is more just informational, and please ask questions that you might have. I may or may not be able to answer them directly. I may just be able to provide my interpretation. And we might have to do a sort of an offline conversation about that. So those are my caveats. And as long as everyone plays by the rules, I think we're going to be fine. Part of this is interesting for me as well to see what questions you guys have about the new update, so that I can perhaps go off and prepare some answers for those, or we can have further conversations about that. So please ask questions. Even if I don't have the answers, it's still useful to surface them so that we can work through them all. All right. So here's the table. And the first thing, as you're reading through it, I don't know, there's a lot of information on the slide. The first thing that you need to know about the adjustment is that there's sort of two categories here. So there's one subsidy that's eligible for the most impacted businesses, and there's another one which is eligible for all businesses. And they sort of stack on top of each other. So they're calling it the base CEWS, and so that's the first thing that we'll talk about. That's the base CEWS that's eligible for all businesses. And we'll talk about the other piece next, which is for the most impacted businesses. So this is for, I guess, the common case. So we're looking at here the maximum weekly benefit per employee. And you'll notice, first of all, is that it diminishes over time. So this is kind of saying that, hey, we're expecting / hoping for the economy to recover and for the businesses to be sort of off life support, if you will. And so we're going to try and ease off. My interpretation is that the government here wants to not just have a sharp cutoff date, which could cause significant disruption for businesses, but just sort of to more ease off over time, so they can spread the funds out a little bit further, help businesses for a little bit longer. That's my interpretation of things, and to me that sort of makes sense. All this is done, by the way, with a lot of public consultation. So if you read the articles about it, they're getting a lot of consult from various business communities, people like ourselves, people like industry associations, boards of trade, etc., are coming together to give feedback. So this is sort of typically done with some input from the business community, which is good. We like to see. Okay, so the next lines down are the revenue drop. So it's sort of the calculation here to get to your base CEWS rate. I want to jump ahead down to this bottom point here, is that there are some businesses that may be better off under the old way of calculating CEWS. Okay, so to be fair to those businesses that were sort of planning for that, so if you're one of these that you were planning for the 75% wage subsidy, and now you're thinking, oh, this new CEWS means that I'm going to get less. No, that's not the case. If you've the program seems to be designed to be sensitive to the fact that many businesses may have made plans already, thinking about how things might play out for them under the old program. So they said, hey, if you would have been better off under that old way of calculating it, then at least for the first couple of periods from here on in, that you could still count on that. Okay, so that's one thing to note. That's right down in the bottom here. And then for the rest of them, it's I think better explained visually. So I'm going to jump to the next slide here, and you'll see a little bit more visually how this is calculated. Okay, so again, this is just a screen grab from that same CRA website, and so we can talk through it. But let's just take a look at how this plays out. So the colored lines indicate the periods. So you'll notice periods 5 and 6 are at the top. So this is the highest rate of subsidy that you're eligible for. And then over time, as we get into period 7, 8, and 9, all the way through the end of 2020, essentially, then the subsidy rate decreases. Okay, so so then you need to take a look at, for within each period, is what is the rate I'm eligible for, and that's where you look at the percentage of change in revenues, which is down along the bottom. So it maxes out at approximately 50%. So basically, if your revenues have changed, have dropped by 50% or more, then you would be eligible for the 60% CEWS subsidy rate. Okay, that's what we're seeing here. And if your revenues have dropped, but less substantially, then you would be eligible for a declining rate. So let's say if your revenues dropped by approximately 25%, then that intersects with the 30% subsidy rate. Okay, so that's generally how it seems to work. From our interpretation, what we're seeing here is that the way you calculate the change in revenue has not substantially changed. So from our interpretation of reading it so far is that if, for instance, under the existing CEWS, had you calculated your revenue based on the same month in the prior period, so now it's August, and say you had $100,000 revenue in August, and now your August revenue was $70,000. Well, then that's a 30% drop in revenue compared to that same month previous period. Or if you had done it based on January and February, averaged, and of January and February 2020, averaged was $100,000 for simple math, and again your August is at 70, then it's the same way that you're calculating those. So it doesn't look like the way you're calculating the revenue change has changed, but just the calculation of the subsidy that you're eligible for has changed, or will be changing shortly, I suppose, once they formally roll this out. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there and let's see if there are any questions on the chat for that piece while I just take a quick sip of water. No questions? Okay. All right. So we'll go on to the next little piece, which is talking about the combined base CEWS and the top-up CEWS. So remember I said there's two parts to this program. The top-up is for businesses that are most affected. So, I mean, you'll have to read the article a little bit further to understand what it means to be the most affected, but essentially you've got a really substantial revenue drop that makes you classified as the most affected. And for those kinds of businesses, they're eligible for a top-up on top of that base CEWS that we already talked about, and the top-up percentage is 25% across the board. At least that's the interpretation, excuse me, that I get. And also the maximum weekly benefit per employee amount is also increased as well. So so once again, I think it's easier to show it visually. So I'm going to skip to the next one. I hope I got a screen grab of this one in. Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, this slide here. So this shows the same kind of information that we were running through before, but note that that it's all increased by 25%. So they're all shifted up, and the top level eligibility is around in that 85% mark, and then declines on down. And the base one is eligible for a substantial subsidy as well. Remember, it was in the, I think it was 10% kind of range, and then now it's up pushing past 30%. So substantial change there. I'm going to jump back up to this previous slide. So this is showing the formulas behind all that. So the easiest one to understand is that if you've had no revenue drop, then you're not eligible for it. The other easy one to understand is if you've had a revenue drop of 70% or more in the preceding 3 months, then you're eligible for the base CEWS and the top up. And the base CEWS is calculated on the 50% or more, so that you get 60%, and then the base CEWS you're eligible for because you had a 70% rate top up. Okay, and then all the rest of them are just a combination of those, which equates back in the math to this pretty little chart. I'm a visual person, so the chart makes sense to me. And I wonder if that makes sense for everyone else on the call so far. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, good. You know, that was really it. That's what I wanted to run through, and I was expecting to have some questions along the way as we went, but I'll just pause there. Oh, we do have a question there. So then, in your view, do you think this means 70% every month, or one instance of 70%? So I guess you're saying the subsidy would be 70%, or the revenue drop is 70%? Crystal, revenue drop. Yeah. So to be eligible, my interpretation is to be eligible for the top up, that your revenue drop had to be 70% drop in the average of the past 3 months. So that's my interpretation of it. And I encourage you to read further on that one. But I don't think it's a one instance of 70% drop and then you're eligible for the rest of the period. I think you need to calculate that each period. That's my interpretation of things. And once again, caveat, caveat, this is just my interpretation. Go check your facts, but that's what I've got so far from reading it. Okay, anyone else have a question? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so much ambiguity. I know. The thing is, they're trying to put up a useful guide, which is great. And if they make it too heavy to answer every single case, then nobody will be able to wade their way through it. You'll have to, you know, I'm sure the actual act that they're putting in place is you know, this thick. And I'm sure the lawyers will have fun with that one, but we get the useful guide and we try and interpret what we can and then ask the CRA if we need further clarifications. Cool. Thank you for that question, Crystal. Any other questions on the chat? Okay, I had an incoming phone call, so it might have dropped me for a second there. Can you still hear me? Yep, I'm getting nodding heads. Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, that's fine. Hey, look, I had left time for a bunch of questions, so I don't have much more content here, so we'll probably end early. But I'm sure that as more businesses look at the new CEWS, there'll be more questions. So just keep in mind that we're here to help. And if you have questions about it, then send us an email, give us a call, and we'll figure something out from here. Dustin, I wonder if you wouldn't mind putting in your contact information into the chat. Oh yeah, thank you. That's a good point. People might like the CRA link, so I'll just grab that. Dustin and Colin, if you wouldn't mind putting your contact info in the chat while I'm finding this link. Right here. Okay, that should be the link. Somebody want to just click on that and check it out, make sure that it takes them through to the right place? I didn't break a link or something there. Thanks, Dustin. And great, thank you, Crystal. Yeah, so that is the right link. And there's Colin's LinkedIn info on the chat. If you're not already connected with Colin, he's a great person to connect with on LinkedIn, very plugged in with the business community here. So I recommend you reach out. I'll put my details in quickly here as well. That's me. Send me an email if you've got any questions on this stuff. I got Colin's email. Perfect. Okay, great. That's a wrap, everyone. I don't have any other content. So I'll just leave it there, and thank you all for tuning in and seeing what's going on in CEWS. Thank you very much as well to my co-presenters, Dustin and Colin. Very much appreciated.
There we go. See, it all evens out, Ian, because we've been about 1 or 2 minutes late the last couple of shows, and now you're kind of early this time, so it all gets on that hour. It's all about you guys are accounting. It's all about numbers, right? It's all about averages. So there you go.
It balances out for sure.
Right.
Sounds good. Well, you all get 10 minutes back in your day. Enjoy, and thanks again. Enjoy your Tuesday.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Dustin.
Have a great one, everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.